NFC North quarterbacks. You want to start at the bottom?
Yeah, I want to start at the bottom here, and I want to start with Justin Fields. For some people, might be a controversial take. It's just how I feel, and I don't think it's completely all his fault that he's down here. If you listen to us last year, you know how I feel about Justin Fields. You know how I feel about Alabama and Ohio State quarterbacks coming into the NFL so far. We just haven't seen it from Justin Fields. A lot of that is probably coaching. He's got a new coach this year. It's a defensive coach. So how much will that help him? You hope that the offensive staff Eberflus brought in is going to be able to help develop this guy. But the pieces around Justin Fields, he has, Darnell Mooney, which is nice. But, the pieces around him aren't great. And the offensive line is still really, really bad. Somehow got worse this offseason than it already was. And so I don't think that it's going to be Justin Fields' year. I think there's still a lot of building around him that needs to happen before I think he's going to elevate his game.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I do want to say my opinion just is based off the shitty coaching that has been going on in Chicago. Same thing with Mitchell Trubisky. If you take a guy who has all the talent in the world, but there's no one there to develop them properly, they get behind the curve. And it's a rarity that we only get every once in a while. I mean, we had the opportunity for years to watch Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. There's a couple exceptional quarterbacks in the league right now, but a guy needs somebody to develop him. They need coaches. They need a system. They need people around them. And Fields and Trubisky just didn't have that in Chicago. So the jury's still out on this guy. Hopefully they got some people to, get him some help. But even the system's going to have to click. Then he's going to have to, break bad habits that he developed in a shitty system. Quarterbacks continually get hit and they start running. Now they're looking to run before they check all the reads and everything else. So hopefully they can undo some of the damage that's been done. But I agree with you. I don't think Justin is the guy this year. So, all right, number 3.
All right, number 3. I'm going to put Jared Goff here. A lot of people on Jared Goff, especially after the Rams win the Super Bowl the first year without Jared Goff. Like, there's a lot of reason for people to kind of on Jared Goff, but I like Jared Goff. He's solid. Like, he's not great, he's not special, but he's solid. And he can get you some wins. And he's got a pretty good offense around him. That was the objective in 2022, seems to be putting the pieces around him. The Lions already had a pretty good offensive line. We know they got Penei Sewell in 2021 draft. So that's good. And they went and got weapons to put around Jared Goff. And he has a good stable of running backs. So I think Jared Goff is going to have a pretty good year for the Lions. Will that all translate into wins for the team? Probably not, because this is like the most team game of all the team games that there are on the planet. But I think Jared Goff, after having just over 3,200 yards with 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions in his first year with the Lions, for what that team was, that was a pretty good season. So I think that gets better in every category this year. I think they'll get better in the win column as a team, and Jared Goff is going to be a big reason because of that.
Yeah, I like Jared Goff. I really do. He comes from McVay's program. He's been around a lot of winning that's going to carry over. We know that Mad Dan is a motivator, but it's still Detroit, and offensive coordinator leaves a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. I don't see enough, and I know that we've got some Lions fans that listen, and they're looking for hope, and God, I wish they had it, but I just don't see a whole lot coming out of this camp this year. I mean, we're going to get into predictions, but they're not going to like what I'm predicting. But I think a big part of, I guess what I'm trying to say is, a big part of the success the Lions may experience will be because of Mad Dan's motivation. He's a player's coach. They love the guy. If he can keep him elevated. And I think Jared Goff brings the leadership that's necessary in the quarterback position. I agree. He's a solid quarterback. But I don't think those two are going to be enough to make it up and put them anywhere near playoff contention.
Yep, I agree with that completely.
Okay, cool. Number 2.
All right, number 2, this one, of course, is going to be Kirk Cousins. And when you take a look at what Kirk Cousins did just in 2021, 66% completion, 4,200 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 103.1 QBR, which is fantastic season. Like any quarterback in the league gets that. The people that root for that team going to be very happy. But then you look at the QBR. It's 3 straight years. Kirk Cousins has had a 103 or higher. And then in 6 of the last 7 seasons, 4,000 or more yards. And in each of the last 7 seasons, he has at least 25 touchdowns. One, he had 29, and 3 of those, he had 30 or more. So Kirk Cousins has been getting it done. Like, there are a lot of people that talk shit about Kirk Cousins, but when it comes down to it, he's getting it done. And the Vikings have put the pieces around him. He has Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. You can't really ask for much better as a quarterback. So I think Kirk Cousins is going to continue to do his thing. He has some new coaches that, probably like him, unlike Mike Zimmer. So I think Kirk Cousins deserves to be here at this 2 spot in the division. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people this year. We might be talking about him as a top 10, top 12 type quarterback after this season.
Okay. I like Cousins. I always have. And I'm going to say the same thing about Minnesota I said with Detroit, but we're still in Minnesota. For some reason, it doesn't matter how good it is, something always goes wrong in the end, and they can never get it done. This has been going on since the 70s. I mean, they've been to 5 Super Bowls, and they just can't. And I don't know what it is. I don't know why. They do have a new coaching staff, but I'm not real hip on this either. Everybody's like, "Oh, Wes Phillips, football's in his blood." Well, Bum Phillips coached a long time ago before anybody had this game really figured out. So I'm not really, I mean, he's a legend. I don't want to discredit him, but it's not Bum Phillips' game anymore. And then we all know Wade Phillips is one of the worst head coaches, in my opinion, that ever had as long a tenure as he had. I don't know why the guy kept getting hired. I made a meme one year that said, when you're completely lost and don't know how to come from behind, and he's staring off going. So, I don't want to pin that on Wes. He does have football in his blood. I'm sure he knows way more about football than I do, but I don't know that the Phillips bloodline is as powerful as everybody thinks. He's a young guy, but he does come out of the Rams system. Maybe that's what they need, and get some new blood up there, and maybe this will click, and maybe the Vikings will challenge for the North. But we all know who sits atop of the North, and that's not going to change this year, which brings us to number 1. Everybody knew what number 1 was.
Yeah, the back-to-back, baby. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, what can you say about it? He has 13 interceptions in the last 3 seasons. He's probably going to retire as the leader in touchdown interception ratio. He's the guy. He's the type of guy that can make the people around him better. So, if you've seen the stat that's been out there without Devontae Adams over the last couple of years in games, they're 7-0. Like, Aaron Rodgers, when he needs to make something happen, he can make something happen. He has Christian Watson that they just drafted, and Allen Lazard, and a couple old friends, one being Randall Cobb. I expect Aaron Rodgers to keep doing what he's going to do, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit if he ends up with a 3-peat for MVP.
Wouldn't surprise me either. And people are tired of hearing about it, but I don't care. I mean, we can't say anything else. I mean, the guy just gets it done. I don't care if you like him or you don't like him. He's like Manning and Brady. He makes receivers a lot of money. No matter who you put in front of him, they're going to get a contract extension, make a lot of money, and probably go somewhere else and get paid. He just makes magic with whatever he has to work with. Things are working in Green Bay, and until they don't, I'm just going to assume that they're going to be right there contending for the NFC Championship.
Yeah, it just feels like Aaron Rodgers and LaFleur are like the perfect coach-quarterback marriage. They have an amazing relationship for everything everybody said a couple of years ago when they got together. It's been nothing but greatness since they got together. They just need to win a Super Bowl together at this point.
Yeah. Well, I know a guy who was in racing circles, and he was hanging out with Tony Stewart in the month of May in Indianapolis one year. They were sitting around having some beers, and Tony said, "Let's cause some trouble," and leaked a rumor he was going to get in an Indy car. Blew up all over the news. It's all everybody talked about for a week and a half. And that year he didn't get in an Indy car. So that kind of stuff does go on. I don't know with this Rodgers LaFleur thing. Is it an intentional leak? Are they messing with the media? They're trying to just pull attention, right? I mean, just distract the media and other teams from what's really going on. I don't know, but it certainly isn't what I thought it was when things are coming down. I held out. They came in and still dominated, and now they're not even holding out. They're going to dominate again.